Welcome to the Health Coach Nation podcast. My name is Hailey Rowe, and I'm a sales and marketing coach and LinkedIn lead generation service provider. I work with health, life, and mindset coaches and online service-based business owners to help them get more sales, shift their time to the client-generating activities instead of just the busy work, and overcome that social media overwhelm. Let's get into the show. If you are looking to get the word out about your coaching business, or you want to get a job at a health coaching company, I've put together a free resource list of companies, apps, and directories that feature coaches or hire coaches. If you want to check it out, it's at haileyrowe.com/resource list, all one word, and hope it comes in handy. Of Functional Medicine Coaching Academy, also known as FMCA. And I'm so excited she's here today because that is one of the most amazing schools out there to certify health coaches. And we're going to be digging in today, talking to Sandra about health coaching and the future of health coaching, what she's seeing in the field. We're going to talk a little bit about how amazing she has taking care of herself. She's an inspiration for many of us on social media. I see your videos. So we'll go into a little bit of everything. But before we do, can you share a little bit about how do you define a health coach and what made you want to start a health coaching certification school?
Sure. So a health coach takes you from where you are to where you want to be. It's actually, think of like a stagecoach, an old-fashioned coach that you'd be at your destination and you would go from where you presently were to now where you want to be in the future. And that's what a coach does. A coach is your guide. A coach is somebody who helps you change when change is hard. And what is so beautiful about a coach is that as a health coach, you are a good listener. And what that means is that you travel with the person who is your client. You are somebody who is listening to them. And when somebody feels heard, that's when change starts to take place. That's when they feel like they can. And so it is not an I can change, but is we can do this together. And study after study shows that there's something very critical in a coaching relationship, and that is self-efficacy. In study after study, they have shown when people fill out surveys at the end of the research project, what changed? Self-efficacy. And that means that you are having a strong sense that you can take charge of your health, that what you do in your life really makes a difference, that you are in control of your health. It's very powerful, and it's what allows you to make changes. And then the coach, as this listener, is there for the ride, is there to support you, to hold you accountable, provide education. Yes, coaches can provide education, but we like to say that they are not the one who comes in as, I know how to fix you. In other words, you're broken and I'm the expert. I know what you need. No, coaches are the experts in behavior change. They are the specialists in what I call bedside manner. In fact, I have a new book out where I talk a lot about the absence of bedside manner, and health coaches can bring that back. So that is something that I see in the future as really an exciting, important role for health coaches.
Yes, amazing. Yeah, and I've seen some of the stats out there about how when you have a coach in general, and some of them are related to health, but some are just in general, you're more accountable to your goals. You do what you say you're going to do. And a lot of times people report that it was worth it and they enjoyed it and it was helpful and it changed their life. And I think the only way you can really, I think sometimes people struggle with explaining health coaching in a tangible way, but I love the analogy you gave. What would you say to somebody who's like, yeah, but people are just saying they can go do it on their own, or they're going to do their own research, or they're going to use AI? How would you respond to that?
Well, think about New Year's resolutions. Everybody's like gangbusters in January. Yes, I'm going to exercise. I'm going to join the gym. This time I'm really going to go. I'm going to lose weight. Whatever it might be, I'm going to handle my stress better. By February, most of those people are no longer adhering to their resolutions. It is really, really hard to make these changes. One of the reasons it's so hard, and I think getting harder, is that it's very confusing. The more access to information we have, the more so called experts that are out there, the more confusing it is. One day you're going to see a study, red meat's bad for you. The next day you're going to see somebody on social media saying red meat is fantastic for you. So there's so much conflict. We are divided into camps, whether it be how we should be working out, how we should be eating, even how much sleep we need, how we manage our stress. So it is very confusing. And one of the things that people think they can do, in fact, I just saw it just this week. Their Apple is becoming they're more and more into the importance of health tracking, which can be a good thing. And so they are upping their game. They're going to have an AI health coach. They've been talking about this for quite a while. So is Samsung and Whoop and all the other tracking devices out there. But they're all misinterpreting the role of a coach. They're thinking the coach, this AI health coach, is going to give you suggestions. It's all about providing something to you as opposed to this heart-centered interaction. So what I would say is this is an interaction that comes from the heart. And they've had studies where they've had people use apps, have a human coach, and hands down, people like having a human with them. In fact, we have such a huge problem with loneliness. People are isolated, and the connection that develops between a coach and the person that they are serving is profound. And both people are actually transformed in that process. So you can't take that away. And I predict we might be going back to even more in-person consults. So that is, but I'm not saying that there's no value in using AI and access to all this data. Health coaches can work with that. So using wearables and tracking devices, there's a big role for health coaches with this remote patient monitoring.
Yeah, so using it, but remembering that the human component and the heartfelt leadership and that kind of engagement with somebody is really powerful as well.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, what was the gap that you were seeing in the health world that made you want to start a health coaching school and certification program?
Well, I was seeing people who were trained as health coaches in the early days that didn't really feel prepared. There's as functional medicine is becoming more and more popular. So when FMCA was started, I had certification in functional medicine. I had just gone through IFM, that's the Institute for Functional Medicine. They're our collaboration partner. I had just become certified through their program, their training program for practitioners, and felt that I could integrate these teachings from functional medicine. We're not saying that they're functional medicine doctors, but they could work collaboratively with functional medicine providers. And what I added to these functional medicine principles, which is basically root causes of illnesses, why we get sick, added what I had been practicing as a psychologist for close to 40 years, and that was mind-body medicine and positive psychology. I was practicing that long before it had a name, going back even to the 70s, doing stress management. So I saw the importance of an integrative approach. I've always been a fan of not having one tool in your toolbox and not just saying, okay, I just do this. I'm a therapist that just does this type of approach, because it is always personalized. And so I would integrate all of these strategies that came from cognitive behavior therapy, for example. And many of these principles are not the exclusive territory of the psychologist, for example. So you're not doing psychotherapy when you are helping people to catch their thoughts, rework them, or you're helping people to pause and be aware of their posture, their body language, their breathing, and understand the root causes of why they're getting sick and take action to change lifestyle, which will address 9 times out of 10 those root causes.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. And you guys have been around for a while. I don't know how many years, but you have definitely had your journey when it comes to building a business from the ground up. So I'd love to know, what kind of marketing lessons did you feel like you had to learn the hard way, that somebody listening might want to hear and learn from as well?
Yeah, so I think that it is first of all that it comes from yourself, that getting over this I don't know enough, I'm not good enough, or that you always have to go on that you need to spend thousands of dollars on some fancy marketing program. I see things out there. Well, you could make $100,000 as a coach and getting people in there. But honestly, these were lessons I learned back when I got my master's degree in learning disabilities, and I spent some time as a private tutor while I was also teaching in a public school and kids with special needs. It's relationships. It's the old-fashioned networking that happens. You don't need social media. You don't need a fancy website. You don't need any of the things that you think you need. You need a client agreement. But what in marketing, it is telling your story. It is telling everybody what you do and forming a relationship. For me, it was forming a relationship with one parent, the one child that I started working with, and they would tell their friends and their sister, oh, you have to work with Sandy, she's a great tutor for my child, and it grows from there. So it is that art of connecting with people, telling everybody, friends, neighbors, school, you're at a parent teacher, the open house night, and you're getting to know parents in your child's classroom or wherever you might be. You never know where you might be. I wear, like Functional Medicine Coaching Academy. I wear my t-shirt when I'll go to the local farmer's market, and every time someone will stop me, oh, functional medicine, coaching academy. Wow, I'm thinking, tell me about being a health coach. And so it is that personal relationship. And what I love to do in my office hours at FMCA is help people especially networking with people who are going to refer to you or hire you. So how do you tell your story so that doctor that you're interacting with, who might be, I remember a pediatrician who was the father of my daughter's friend in kindergarten, and oh, do you have a card? And that was a great relationship. And then he was referring when I became a psychologist, and he was referring tons of kids with suspecting ADHD, for example, a steady stream of referrals. So it is those relationships when people get to know, like, and trust you. You find common interests. Robert Cialdini, who is a noted influencer and in terms of social psychology, and wrote the book Influence, and is a professor emeritus at Arizona State, talks a lot about this. Like when you find out, I'm like you. Oh, we both, have kids in the same class. We both, go to the same gym. We're some common ground. We both play tennis, whatever it might be. You get to know that person, and they now like you, trust you, and so there's many parts to this, but it is basically what I would say old-fashioned connections.
Yeah, not dismissing that for the latest. I need to be on TikTok, or I need to do these other things. Start with what's in your community, what's right in front of you. How can you get the word out and bring your coach self with you everywhere? And I also like how you said sharing your story. And one of the things that's that stands out to me when I'm following you on Instagram, what's your Instagram handle, just so people can follow you?
Dr. Sandy, DrSandi.
Yes. And I love following you because you're always doing something to show wellness and graceful aging. You know, I don't know how old you are, and I know you've mentioned it before on your Instagram, but you are working out, you're taking a ballet class, you're doing all the fun things. And I'd love to know just like, what is something you've had to unlearn about health or aging, as that has caused you to be this amazing example?
Well, I'm 76, and I had to unlearn so many things about aging, that it's inevitable decline. I had to unlearn that, and I still hear many of my contemporaries saying this, well, it just sucks to get old, or if they have an aching pain, well, that's the natural part of aging. I had to unlearn that women don't go into the weight room. I remember I went through every phase of fitness. So back in the late 70s, you should have seen in my closet, all the Jane Fonda leotards and cute little tights and leg warmers. And I was going to these Jane Fonda style aerobics classes for 3, 4, sometimes 5 times a week. And that's what we thought that was it. And they had in the gym, these Nautilus machines were just coming into vogue. And so I would do some of those, like a leg curl, but knew nothing what I was doing, like would do 1 rep at probably a really low weight. And that was it. But also then there was a weight room where they had Smith machines, and they had big, barbells with plates on them. And that was for the guys. That was for the weightlifters. Women didn't go in there. And it seemed so intimidating. Why would you want to? And so that was something I had to unlearn. I also had to unlearn the obsessive cardio. I went through a period of time, this was probably more in the 80s, early 90s. I would get up every morning and I would run 5 miles on the treadmill, rain or shine, had to get in that type of exercise. And then hot yoga, we thought that was it. That was wonderful. This hot power vinyasa. And I was doing that, so frequently, and finding that it was just too much, but it also was not enough. And then doing yoga, I did Ashtanga yoga. So I still do elements of all of that. I took a lot of dance class over the years, and I still take a ballet class, which I love, for women, not just women, but for people over 50. And I still do cardio, but it is more targeted. It's more 10 minutes, of high intensity, a few times a week, for example, or going out and walking, which I don't consider exercise. It's just movement for pleasure. But the main thing, if I had to pick one, I still do yoga every morning with handstands and headstands. I think they're wonderful. I feel great afterwards. But the one thing that I wish I had started so much earlier was weight training, resistance training with heavy weights. And that is, years of doing Pilates, and that was another phase, tons of daily, club Pilates, and addicted, loving that. And I still do love that kind of movement, but I don't do it as frequently. And I see it more like a dessert. What has really made a difference in terms of body composition is strength training. I think, defied odds and have been able to put on muscle in my 70s. And it just is, they're now saying that this is the organ of longevity. Dr. Gabrielle Lyon talks about that a lot. And it is something that we talk about being non-negotiable.
Yeah, 100%. Totally. And what about from the standpoint of, I think a lot of people watching this will say, oh, well, I'm a busy entrepreneur and I'm a busy mom. And how do you make time for all of the strength training and all the things that you do for wellness? What's some tips that have helped you make sure you get it in, make sure you make the time for it, that kind of thing?
Exercise snacks, shorter sessions. So it's not, I have to go to the gym and spend an hour and a half there. But it is, can I do one exercise? And so I will often think, okay, I'm just going to run into the gym, and now I'm really into dead hangs, because for grip strength particularly. So I will just do some dead hangs with some pull-ups. And if that's all I do, great. And then other days I might have more time. But you can intersperse them throughout the day. You can have a set of kettlebells under your desk, and between meetings, you can do kettlebell swings. You can do wall squats. Every time I'm waiting for my coffee to brew, I just posted about this, I will do air squats. Push-ups. Often when I have throughout the day, I will do sets of push-ups. And those are very, very efficient. So there's a lot you can do with your body weight, a lot even like in the airport, waiting to board a plane. I will do air squats, for example, instead of just sitting. So every opportunity you can get in movement, and then as time allows, you can get in more types of strength training. But I think about my grandmother, my great grandmother, and they spent the whole day lugging heavy pots and all this heavy work. And so they didn't think about, I'm going to do an hour of strength training. All day they were strength training. And so I look for every opportunity at the store. I'm shopping, and they will say, "Oh, ma'am, don't you want the cart to go out to the car?" And I say, "No, pack these bags really heavy, because farmers carry." So I'll take these heavy shopping bags of groceries, and we'll purposely not take the shopping cart. We'll leave that at the store, but we'll walk in the parking lot with these heavy bags. So there's lots of little ways that you can sneak in strength training.
I love it. Yes, looking for those opportunities. And what would you tell somebody who is listening to this and they're like, yeah, I may want to become a health coach, or I may want to add to my certifications, but is it really possible to make this my career? They're having doubts. They're thinking that this isn't, this is nice, but you can't really do it as a job. Is there anything you'd tell them?
Yeah, so we are seeing a tremendous increase in job opportunities. Our job board, year over year, we get more people coming to us. And I know the National Board for Health and Wellness is saying the same thing. More and more doctors, more companies are coming. So I would suggest become board certified. That's the gold standard, that people will trust that you have gone that extra mile to pass that board exam. And the other thing is that it is going out, and again, it is telling your story, where somebody will say, yes, I need that. I was talking to somebody just last night. She thinks, I need to do more in preventive cardiology. So she called around in the area. And now this is not like an area that would be like rural America, where there's going to be a scarcity of doctors, especially cardiologists in hospital. No, this was a affluent area where she was, and she said, she got an appointment with a cardiologist. Guess when? In 27, not even 26.
Wow.
His next opening, I thought I heard wrong. I had to repeat it. What? 2027? Yes, winter of 2027. A year and a half out to get an appointment with a cardiologist. So she started talking to me about health coaching. Oh, yeah, I guess maybe, I can. They are the ones that can really, because they're addressing lifestyle change, that's preventive cardiology. And I'm not saying that you wouldn't need that medical care, of course, for an acute care situation. And if she needs something to determine, plaque buildup, for example, that's different. But you start with lifestyle, and the coach can be that triage, can know when it might be really important, making sure that she gets that adequate medical care as well, and helping act as her advocate. So, for example, what I was doing, with her is helping her. Let's go through the directory, and here's a doctor I know, and maybe try this. And so they can be advocates for people as well. So it's one of the areas that it's just growing so much, because we are facing a critical shortage in medical care of our doctors.
Totally. Yeah, I know. It is so crazy to think that you need to book your appointment 2 years out. Geez. So where can people connect with you, learn more about FMCA, all the good stuff?
Sure. So they can go to our website, functionalmedicinecoaching.org. We have our core program. We also have courses. Our newest is in functional nutrition for health coaches. You can go on Instagram, and that's Functional Med Coach, or as you said, my personal is Dr. Sandy, DrSandi. Also have a book, Your Health Coach Will See You Now, which is an argument for health coaches and goes through all the research that we have to date, and that is through Amazon or barnesandnoble.com.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being so amazing as somebody who is a living example of what's possible when you take care of your health and you strength train and you do all the things. And we will talk soon. Thanks so much for listening to this podcast. And if it's really helpful for you, I'd really appreciate if you share it and or leave a written podcast review. This tells the podcast sites that our show is useful and it will be promoted to more people that way. Thanks again.